Welcome back. Um, 26 September 4:48 p.m. Right back after 1.5 hours. And yes, this is my second video about competitive programming. So I'm going to talk about what is competitive programming all about. What is the need for studying data structures and algorithms these days? What are the prerequisites for the competitive programming? What should be my approach towards competitive programming? What are the various platforms on which I can practice? So these are the many questions I found that were clinging to my mind, and yes, it was more than these questions that were uh, in my mind to start with competitive programming. So, with the past 2 to 3 months, I have contacted more than 10 to 12 people who are great at competitive programming, and they have given me various advices on how to start with competitive programming and how can I be an awesome developer at these platforms. So, let's start. What is competitive programming? So, uh, talking about competitive programming, it's a mind game about how you can go about solving problems on computer. So you have a time limit, you have a set of inputs. According to the question, you have to produce that output within that time limit. So that is all about competitive programming. So why it is known too much about, or why it is given too much importance on competitive programming. So I think that in programming there are two options, what I have learned till now, that either you go on with competitive programming or you go on with development. So the people with competitive programming are good problem solvers. So they literally go on various platforms and solve variety of problems about dynamic programming, greedy approach, various types of programming problems. And yes, their mind also uh, becomes very prone to that uh, problem solving area. And the one guys who are developing development guys, they are using many frameworks and tools to make the products work. So it is not necessary to become a developer to go on with competitive programming. But yes, to become an awesome developer, you need competitive programming and data structures. So I think I cleared my point about what is competitive programming. And I also covered some part of what is the need for studying data structures and algorithms these days. So nowadays, literally, we are having many frameworks and languages that have uh, and that have provided an abstraction over the data structures and algorithms used beside them. The underlying structure about anything is not known to the end user now, the developer. Uh, so due to that, we are not generally, we are more on to towards development tools. We are using Android, we are using Flutter, we are going on with various other frameworks, but we are not too much good with data structures and algorithms. We don't know which data structures is used for this problem, which is data structure is used for used, and like in various ways. What is the use of this? What algorithm is that framework using to do that particular set of tasks? So the frameworks nowadays are have provided a many layers of abstraction over it. So the developers nowadays are more focused on um, uh, typing and writing code. But competitive programming and programming is not all about writing code and code. It's all about problem solving. So yes, I think the need for studying data structures and algorithms these days is more important, because not for grabbing good jobs, but yes, you have to brush up your ground and clear your ground and set up your base on which you can build your you can build all your skills. So you need to study data structures and algorithm. And recently I also been reading data structures and algorithms. So what I read is that yes, they are needed much. You have to use state trees, you have to use graphs sometimes to crawl the data, and yes, you have to do some sort of stuff. So next question: what are the prerequisites for competitive programming? um, I can say that for competitive programming you have to like know basics of one programming language at least, and then you know how to use an editor or like competitive programming platforms, and yes, you know how to surf internet basically. uh, so these are the prerequisites for competitive programming. Not you do not have to just ace in the basics or like know more of it to become an developer in competitive programming. You have to know just the basics and just start practicing and practicing. That is the main cause for competitive programming, and that's how you can go on with competitive programming. So what should be my approach to competitive programming? Next question. So uh, in the past 2 3 months, I told you that I met 10 to 12 people who gave me advices on how to start with competitive programming. Some people said to go on CodeChef and solve these problems. Some people said to go on Geeks for Geeks and try each and every problem. Some people said that go on code courses and try this, blah blah blah. So uh, you have to keep one approach in your mind to go on and yes, race that journey. So I have decided to compete on code forces to like basically ace my data structures and algorithms. So that would be my approach towards competitive programming, to take one side like code forces, code chef, and keep solving problems on that. And what are the various platforms on which I can practice? So for this question, I can show you the various platforms that can be used for problem solving. I can introduce to, like, we can go to CodeChef. So this is CodeChef.com. I have been around 1 star, from 2 star to 1 star recently due to the some contest participation, and I could not complete all the problems. Mostly, I was not able to complete the problems. So this is the website about CodeChef. You can go here about practice. You can go about beginner section. This is the school-based section about the problems. Like, these are all the problems you can solve. This is the easy section. There are a number of problems that you can go and solve here. Um, Now coming to the website called Code Forces. This is my website and on which I am going to just practice. I have just started and I will be continuing this journey on my YouTube channel as well. And I will be sharing all the problems around. So these are the problems. Problem set. You can sort by the order of uh, how many people solve these problems. And yes, this is an awesome site, Code Forces. You can also try Hacker Earth. I don't know why Hacker Earth is not working. Okay, it works. So yes, this is the website where you can try more problems and go on with. And here you can go also with Code Monk, and this is very great to get started with competitive programming. You can go about solving problems here. So that is all competitive programming all about. Uh, and I would say that yes, too many questions are out there on the Google, and you can Google what you are searching for, like what question, what advice. You can go on Quora and search for it. There are a number of options available, or you can comment here in the comment box. And yes, that's all about for today. We are going to start with now code forces. And yes, I will be covering every problem and its solution, how to approach that problem, and how I solved it in my editor. This is my editor. How I solved, I have done a lot of work now. So not lot of, but yes, I have just started. So I will be going around with all the problems and how to solve that problems. I have also not aced that development version of mine, but yes, I will be doing that. Hope so. So okay, logging off. Bye bye.